What's up, guys? Derek here with Tap and Turn Gaming, coming at you today with another episode in our series of Top 10 Secret Tech. Today will be for Simic, as you can see. So we'll be highlighting some blue-green cards that may add a little bit of pizzazz and trickery to the color that maybe are not as well played. Or maybe not as popular, I should say. So let's take a look at the cards we came up with. For some instance, we have Hydra Form. Now, Hydra Form is a 2-cost instant, obviously, that says target land becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with flying until end of turn. It's still a land. Now, what makes this a secret tech card is its pure versatility. You could cast this for 2, make your 3/3 your land into a 3/3, swing and hit. That's very cool. Or if your opponent casts a sweeper, like a chain reaction maybe, or a Wrath of God, something along those lines, you can go ahead and cast this for 2 on their land, and it can be pseudo land destruction. You can also use it as a combat trick where they attack, you animate your land, and now your land is a 3/3, and you take out their 1/1 or their 2/2. So the implications that it have really can be, combat tricks and some good spot removal if played right. And that's one of the reasons why I really like it. Up next we have Invert the Skies. So what this does is creatures your opponents control lose flying until end of turn if green was spent to play Invert the Skies, and creatures you control gain flying if blue was spent to play it. So again, this falls under the category of just being a really, really good combat trick, as well as just a pseudo fog if need be in some cases, or even anything like that. Because it's instant speed, so you can go ahead and your opponent swings with all their guys. They have a couple flyers. You cast this. They all lose flying, and now all their creatures drop to the ground, and you can pick them off how you choose. Or you declare combat, cast this, play use both a blue and a green. Now all your guys have flying, all their guys don't, and you basically just became unblockable. Now if their guys have reach or something along those lines, they can still do what they have to do. But it's really nice to really control combat. Controlling combat will really let you get pretty far into just winning games that you maybe normally wouldn't have won. But if you can really control the combat step and control where the damage goes and how that damage goes, then there's really a lot that you can do with it. Up next we have Plasm Capture. So this is a 4-cost counterspell. It does cost 2 green, 2 blue, so it is pretty color intensive to cast. So outside of a dual color Simic deck, you probably wouldn't play this. But it says counter target spell at the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase. Add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool where X is a spell's converted mana cost. So for 4 mana, if you counter a 6-cost spell on your next main phase, you're going to get 6 mana of any color you choose, in any combination of colors too. And because of the change in rules to EDH, where you can now produce colors outside of your commander's color identity, you can use this to your advantage. Sometimes, if need be, if you've stolen one of your opponent's creatures and it has an ability that's red, you can use this to produce red mana, so on and so forth. But mostly just for how this can really also be formed as some Excel. You may counter one of your opponent's weaker, cheaper spells just so that next turn you have that extra mana. You already have the 4 mana to cast this. So if you cast this on your opponent's turn and counter their 4-cost spell, on your turn, you get that 4 mana from the counter spell you countered, but at the same time, you also will be getting the 4 mana that you used to cast this because you had that available to cast it previously. And then you probably played another land, you're probably up to 9 mana, you almost just doubled your mana for the cost of 4 mana. And that's pretty nice. I really like that. Outside of its obvious implications of being a counterspell and getting the mana, I just like how you can plan ahead that to be able to cast spells and excel the game further for you. It's on being able to cast a Terastodon per se on turn 4 or turn 5 rather is pretty powerful. Up next we have Aether Mutation. This is a 5-cost sorcery. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Put X 1/1 green sapling creature tokens into play where X is its converted mana cost. I like this just because you can bounce one of their big guys and go ahead and get a bunch of little guys for yourself. And if you're setting it up yourself up right, you can really net off those saplings. There's a lot of things that you could do with them, especially if you plan to do it. While it is a sorcery that does limit its implications and its trickery to almost none, there's almost no trickery you can play with it. But you can also return your own creature. So if you have a creature with an ETB and you want to use that ETB again, well, go ahead and bounce your creature to your hand and get the saplings, and then cast your creature again. And then up next we have Temporal Spring, another 3-cost sorcery. It says put target permanent on top of its owner's library. So the reason why I like this card is it gives some pseudo removal to blue-green. While it is sorcery, yes, that is what it is. It gives blue-green another way to deal with something like a planeswalker or an artifact, an enchantment. While green can generally deal with artifacts and enchantments pretty well, blue can't necessarily. So this does a lot for you. It removes that problem permanent and also eliminates your opponent's next draw. And what I mean by that is the next card they're going to draw is the card that you just put there. So you have that knowledge that the only card they're adding to their hand is the card that you wanted them to. And that extra knowledge is really, really helpful for you as well. Then up we have Urban Evolution. This is a 5-cost sorcery that says draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. I just like this card because it does the effect of like explore as well as harmonize all in one, like that draw 3 cards and play an additional land. It's just a redundancy, you know, being able to draw more cards is good, being able to play extra lands is good, and this does both in the same package, and I can really get behind that. And again, this series isn't about finding the best cards out there. It's about finding cards that maybe add something to that color didn't have, or adding redundancy so that you can have another effect of the same style effect, those kind of things. So that's why this is on the list, not because it's an amazing card, but because in one neat little package, it has the function of more than one card, and that's really nice. Next up we have Bred for the Hunt. Bred for the Hunt is a 3-cost enchantment that says whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So this is really, really nice just with static. That static ability of whenever one of your creatures deals damage, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, you draw a card. And that's pretty powerful, especially since there are cards out there that say whenever this creature deals damage, you can go ahead and put a counter on it. So then you deal damage, you put a counter on it. Next time you deal damage, it has a counter on it. You're dealing more damage, and you also draw a card. And so you're excelling your damage as well as excelling your card draw, and that's really, really nice. And it's not bad for what it does for 3 mana. I mean, it does have that conditional drawback of the creature dealing damage has to have a +1/+1 counter on it. But really, in blue-green, it isn't that difficult to do. So that's cool. Then we have Yavimaya Embrace. Now this is an 8-cost enchant creature. It says you control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has trample. So this can more or less be like a finisher for you. Now while it is an enchantment, so it's sorcery speed, and it does cost 8, that's alright. It gives the creature +2/+2 and trample, and you control the creature, you know, until it gets disenchanted or bounced, whatever. Blue has so many cards that will go ahead and have a similar effect to this for cheaper, but they don't give that +2/+2 and trample. So what's nice about this is a lot of times you steal your opponent's creature, and then you attack and you attack and you attack, and every time you attack, they just block and block and block. Well, now you get that trample, and that's really, really nice, especially if you're stealing one of your opponent's value creatures. And that's why this is on the list. So for creatures, we only had 2 creatures on the list. First one is Horizon Chimera. This is a 4-cost 3/2 Chimera with flash, flying, and trample. And whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. Something blue is very capable of doing is drawing a card. This also has flash and flying and trample, which is also very, very nice. And then whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. It's just a lot of nice little abilities in a nice little package, and I can really, really get behind that. You know, it also pairs well with Bred for the Hunt. With Bred for the Hunt down, whenever one of your creatures with a +1/+1 counter on it deals combat damage, you draw a card. And whenever you draw a card, you gain 1 life. So these are things that I can really, really get behind. And then lastly, we have Winged Codel. Winged Codel is a 3-cost 1/1 with flash, flying, and death touch, and it happens to be a flying snake, so it's pretty cool. This card just serves as amazing, amazing kill spell. That's more or less what it is a kill spell. Some people see it as a deterrent. You know, if you play this, You have him face down. He's a flyer with Death Touch. He's very hard to get by. Your opponent may not want to attack into you. I really like to use this guy once my opponent has attacked and flashing him in as a blocker because he does have flying. He can stop basically anything, barring unblockables and fears and those kind of things, and intimidates. So there's only a few corner cases that he can't block, but what makes him really powerful, or it really powerful, is that you can flash it in as a removal spell, and it does cost 3 mana, so it's on par with the cost of most removal spells, and it gives blue-green a way to more or less kill a creature. Like that's more or less what you're going to be doing with it, and I can really get behind that. And you can if you just happen to cast this and you use any of the green fight mechanic and make this fighter creature, it does still have that Death Touch to be able to do that. And that's pretty fun too. So that rounds out the list of top 10 Simic secret tech. The list consisted of Hydra Form for some removal and control, Invert the Skies for some combat trickery, Plasma Capture for a counterspell with Excel, Aether Mutation for being able to bounce your own stuff, bounce their stuff, and just net some tokens in it, Temporal Spring for a little bit of removal and deck control, Urban Evolution for draw and Excel, Bread for the Hunt for some Excel, Yavimaya's Embrace for a little bit of control and some damage dealing, Horizon Chimera for just the fact that it's a flying, flashing, trampling, whenever you draw a card, gain 1 life. It's not bad at all. And Wing Codel, which serves as basically a kill spell. So that is our top 10 list for Secret Tech for the Simic colors. This has been Derek with Tap and Turn Gaming. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think of the list. Any cards that you think are pet cards that you would add to this, and we'll catch you later. Thanks a lot, and goodbye.